Let's get to work under the hood of our 94 S-10 Blazer. Welcome back to the Auto Obsessive Garage. Chadwick with you again for another installment of Project Hellblazer. That's our 1994 Chevy S-10 Blazer. On today's episode, guys, we jump right into it. Valve covers have been leaking for some time, as evidenced by the waterfall of old oil dripping down through the engine bay. So we're going to go ahead and pull those off. Not as straightforward, not as easy of a job as some cars, but not impossible. Kind of a pain in the butt. But we're gonna do it today. Also gonna replace that air filter that's in there and take care of some rodent nibbled wires. You know, I love finding rodent damage on cars that have sat for a while. So it's pretty minor in this case. I think we just had one ground wire, but let's take care of that today. Let's get in the garage and get a little dirty. In getting this driver's side valve cover off, you can see here we have this line that goes straight to this ring that surrounds the TBI. So we're gonna pull that off as one unit. No use to undo that and risk damaging it. You got the 3 bolts that are 13 millimeter, pretty easy to get to. You do have a couple wires crossing over. You got your brake booster vacuum line here. We'll just disconnect that. And that should give us enough clearance to lift that out of there. But I just want to show you what it looks like. You do have some stuff to work around. Obviously, you can't pull it straight up. The alternator's right there. So we're probably gonna have to slide it back and angle it up, which will make it tricky with this mounted here. I might have to disconnect this fitting from the intake manifold. But let's hope we don't have to do that. If not, just one more step, but that's pretty much what you're looking at. Let's go ahead and get some of those vacuum lines out of the way and try to pull it out. I reckon that these valve covers have never been removed from the truck. That was hard enough getting this vacuum line from the brake master. Use some silicone lubricant when you get into those old rubber hoses that are really sealed on there. When it's been nearly 30 years, that's what happens. So 13 millimeter, we'll get those 3 bolts out. Might take some taps on this valve cover to kind of get it loosened up. I'm sure that old gasket's about as hard as a rock. See what we got going on. Nice long valve cover bolts. Get yourself a rubber mallet. Something like this. Remember, these are plastic. Don't go hitting it with a real hammer. Just gonna loosen this alternator brace, and hopefully the alternator doesn't completely go out of whack and drop its belt, but I should be able to just pivot that brace arm out of the way. Just being a butthole. Okay, make sure you pull up our little ring here. And there we go. Driver's side valve cover to move. What a pain in the butt. Time to do that passenger side. There's the gasket. Actually isn't too hard, so someone might have at one point redone it. Interesting. It's definitely leaking quite a bit though. And since we have a good amount of crud debris around that valve cover area, I like to always put some kind of plastic over the valve train, just kind of protect it from stuff falling in. You know how it is. We could be working on the other side, knock a chunk loose and have it flip over there and we'd be in a bad spot. Plastic. These little trash bags work perfect when you open them up. You just press it in there and cover up that valve train really nice and neat. Now nothing can fall in there and cause us an issue. On to the passenger side. On the passenger side, we got a lot more stuff to contend with here. We're gonna obviously have to move this bracket out of the way. Looks like it bolts down there and on the left and the right of it, but also connects to this bracket right here, holding the back of AC compressor. So that's gonna be a pain in the butt. We've got some different sensors we're gonna have to disconnect, that one running across the valve cover. And maybe we can push most of these lines out of the way back here. God, it looks like a rat's nest. Look at that, no wonder a mouse lived in here. There's the distributor where we're gonna have to put our new plug wires. So we'll probably do that after we get this valve cover up and out of here. We'll have the most amount of room to work then. But look at this mess. There had to be a better way to do this, GM, come on. That's what you give me? All right, let's get this valve cover off of here. It's passenger side's a little rougher. I was able to bend this bracket a little bit. I might be able to get away with not removing it. It looks like our oil dipstick though needs to be loosened. I think you can remove that bolt at the top here and slide it away from the valve cover a little bit, and that should give us enough play. The PCV valve should pop right up. This is a little sensor down here. Just unclip that. We can bring that back up to that main harness and tuck it out of the way. I have a feeling we're going to be pulling the valve cover this way just a little bit. We got a little bit of room to do that. But yeah, we need to definitely loosen up the top of this. Now, again, anything aluminum like these brackets or your dipstick tube, don't be too forceful, guys. This metal is super easy to bend, and when it goes beyond a certain point, it can kink, it can break, and then you have a whole other headache on your shoulder. So just be aware of that when you're hulking it. Yep. Remove the whole tube there. Not a bad idea to clean this. Pretty sure I can pull that oil filler neck out, but I might use that for leverage, getting that valve cover out. All right. All 3 valve cover bolts removed. Trusty rubber mallet. Again, guys, say it with me, plastic valve cover. All right, let's see. That's probably gonna pull straight up in it. There we go. Yeah, keep that oil filler on there, nice leverage. Okay, now we're gonna have to maneuver this to get it out. Let's take a look at our gasket. Passenger side valve cover removed. These dirty valve covers are not gonna cut it. Before you actually get in there and clean, you need to remove these old rubber grommets out. I've seen people reuse those, and that's a good way to push oil past those bolts. Oh, they should pry right out, I believe. Not too bad. We're just gonna hit it with some degreaser, toothbrushes, and cleaning cloths. Now that's much more like it. Look at those sweet valve covers. Time to put our little grommets in for the valve cover bolts, and then we'll flip it over, put the gasket on, and try to install it back on the vehicle. Time to toss on our new valve cover gaskets, and of course, those gaskets for the long valve cover bolts. Please replace those. Now these look like they press into the valve cover, so we'll go ahead and do that first. Oh yeah. Sometimes these have to go on the bolt, and then the bolt kind of locks them in, but these are pressed into the valve cover style. And they fit perfectly, which is always a good sign. Never know what you're getting sometimes. Nice. Flip the valve cover over. Pretty straight valve cover gasket job here, guys. These are straight up rectangles. So no overhead cam issues to worry about with other engines where you have to go over the lobes and stuff, but do that for both sides, and then we'll throw our valve covers in. Time to get this driver's side valve cover in there with all the accessibility issues that we have. This is going to be a blast. Driver's side valve cover done. That's the easy one. We're not going to hook up all the hoses and everything till we're done, but there is one that goes in there that has the ring around here. We'll do that shortly. And don't forget to hook up your brake booster hose. That's exciting. You're definitely going to want this to work, so we can actually do that one right now. Just so we don't forget. There we go. All right, time to get this absolutely miserable passenger side one in. Not excited. There we go. That was the money, the little twist move there. And of course, we just can't put these dirty bolts back in. We gotta wire brush these, so let's wire brush them up. All right, both valve covers installed in the truck. Pretty happy about that. No more oil slick. Time to put the rest of this action together. we certainly don't want to forget putting our oil filler neck back in. It kind of goes in a certain way and then turns to lock. And then twist it, and there, it's locked into place. You also have your PCV. Don't forget to reconnect that and clean it off if it's a little funky. And that just simply plugs right down into your valve cover. Forget this sensor too. Anything you unplug here, remember to plug back in. There you go, PCV back in. And our oil dipstick tube needs to be reconnected. And we've got this section we need to put back on the valve cover on the driver's side. I cleaned it up quite a bit. That was just covered in old oil and carbon and other nasty stuff, so. There we go, kind of locks into place there, and this goes right down into the valve cover, just like you did with the PCV. This is probably a breather hose. Yep, nice and easy with these plastics, remember that. And use dirty hands to install it, so you have to clean it again. Let's see what's inside our air cleaner here. The filter doesn't look too bad, an old Fram unit, but in actuality it's quite full of dirt. Every one of those pleats is just full. This truck looked like it lived in a desert or something. I mean, it is pretty dusty out here, so. Yeah, new filter going in. Definitely gonna clean out this air box and air cleaner assembly. Just, yep, make it nice and clean. Got a fresh new AC Delco air filter to throw in. We're not cutting any corners here, boys. A little before and after, you can see the AC Delco one. Brand new. The old Fram one, roughed up. Time to put this fresh one in. And you just go like that. Biggity bang. Look at that nice clean air box too. Even clean the inside of the lid. Look how shiny that is. This thing's gonna flow air like a maniac. Just kidding. All right, let's put this back together and get it back in the truck. All right, when you put your airbox assembly back in, make sure you have there's a logo here that says front this way. That's easy to follow. Go ahead and tighten these wing nuts down and make sure you connect that little breather hose that goes up into the bottom of this pipe and your little teeny bolt in the front, and that's it. Obviously, you can see a lot of surface corrosion on top of this bad boy, so we're gonna go ahead and sand that down and give it a coat of satin black paint. That'll be when we do our beautification stuff, but that's gonna clean up under the hood, which we always do. You guys know how we roll, but there's the airbox back in, new air filter, awesome. Truck's gonna like that. Time to repair this rat-chewed wire. Clearly a ground to the chassis there, so let's go ahead and do this right. Solder it up, seal it back up, then return the ground to whatever this runs to. Probably something. A little bit of solder, a little bit of heat wrap, and that wire looks good as new. No more mouse damage there. Again, we're gonna keep checking the vehicle over. You wanna address any of that. You see nibbled wires, there's usually more, so let's dig in, but that's a good repair right there.